All right, how you doing? Len Evan here. I've been asked to kind of go over my segment strategies inside of Lofty. So got an appointment here and I'm just sitting in the parking lot and I'm looking at the rest of my schedule today and going, when am I going to have time to do this? So why not do it in a parking lot, right? Like who cares, right? Let's do this. So I'm going to jump in here into Lofty and I'm going to give you kind of a brief synopsis of what we're using segments for. And I'll just kind of go over and tell you, my quick kind of like follow-up strategy, right? So I look at it and let's see, all right, let's open it up. Here we go. So inside of Lofty, a lot of people live and die inside of your dashboard, right? So I've got my dashboard right here. And as you can see, it's Monday. So I've probably got some overdue tasks and you're looking at it and going, how is somebody who's making, a couple $100,000 a year in real estate only have a few tasks? Well, I've already done a couple, to be honest with you. And two, most of my tasks that I see here when I'm looking at my dashboard, these are clerical tasks, right? Like, hey, put a CMA together and send it to so-and-so. Do some marketing here, do this, call your sellers. Those types of tasks are what I'm seeing in here. Now, 90% of CRMs out there, what ends up happening is your follow-up tasks end up getting pulled into your regular tasks, right? So if I was to go to my tasks section here, I can see like, here's a task. It says, this lead was qualified by the AI assistant, said they're just looking, we suggest. So it's basically telling me, hey, go take a look at this one, see what you want to do. But typically, if I look at all my tasks here, that's what a lot of this is, right? Some marketing stuff. What do I got to do here? What I got to do there? What you're seeing is a lot of these tasks are related to just clerical, right? Unmute the AI, things like that. But in your typical CRM, it's call Bob, every 2-week follow-up, every 1 month follow-up, your sphere of influence, 90-day follow-up, those types of things. So instead of having it in my tasks where I end up with like 8,000 tasks that I have to do, what I did was we took these segments that Lofty gives us and we put them in here, right? And so to kind of give you an idea of the segments that we have, I've got one called send upon. So if I've got a lead that is a little bit, whatever, I'm just going to throw it in there. So we're using the segments two ways, right? One is to kind of, identify some, things that maybe don't necessarily need to be done right away. And then two is some follow-ups. And so what you'll see is you have this segment name, which that part makes sense. And a lot of people understand that. The second piece is this reminder. This is where people are missing the magic of segments. So if you look at this and you just hover over it, it's a very simple thing. Leads will be marked as expired if they are not contacted in the set reminder of time. So like my super hot leads, the ones who are like, yeah, I'm ready to buy, I'm out there looking right now, I need to do something today, my lease expires in 45 days, I'm following up with them every 2 days, right? And so I'm putting them in this super hot, less than 30 days, category every 2 days. And so what happens is the reminder is going to pop up every 2 days. And then I've got hot every 7 days, every 14 days, every 21 days. And so these are the people that I've spoken to, right? These are active leads, not prospects. So I define an active lead as somebody I've spoken to. We've had a conversation. There's a future there. If they're active and they're like, I've already bought a house, I've already got an agent, they don't live in a follow-up category. I'm just moving them somewhere else. I put them into outbound where I'm just kind of doing marketing with them. I'm not really necessarily going to try to put any pressure on them, but I'm also not going to ignore them completely and trash them. And then I've got a secondary category where I say, okay, well, these are my prospects. These are the people who came into my system. I've reached out to them. I've left them voicemails. I'm sending them text message. I'm sending the properties. I'm doing whatever it is, right? I'm doing some sort of follow-up campaign, but we've never spoken. And so with those ones, as they're new in the system, they need to be reached out to and called again on a regular basis. But I don't want to call Bob more than once every 3 days. I don't want to be that number that shows up on their caller ID over and over and over again, where they just go, oh, this person again, block call. So I have it set to 3 days. And then I've got a campaign that actually automatically moves them down the list. And the idea is that you never stop calling people. And why should you, right? Like, you can see the last one here, Ice Age, every 6 months. no big deal. Twice a year, I'm going to call a number and just be like, hey, this is Len, Loyalty Home Group. Just was following up a while back. You had requested some information on, on properties, or you'd requested some information about the value of your home. Is that something you're looking to do this year? I'll be fully transparent in this conversation too. I don't mind putting people back in prospect status. So if they were hot and then they disappeared and then they just kind of fell off the face of the planet, I'll put them back in to that category. And so I'll push them back into prospect. And when I do that, it's going to move them back through the list. So maybe I'll drop them into, this prospect freezing category and just dial through that. But the idea is, once again, it's going to give me a list of people to call on a regular basis. So let's jump in and let's actually look at that. So what's cool about this is, so I've got my, super hot. You can see it's showing 3 people that need to be reached out to. Now, I think my filters are messed up on this for a second. Give me a second. Oh no, I got it. There's a filter on here I need to get rid of. Hang on. All right, let's clear that. Google stuff. All right, so now I've got all my leads, super hot. So of course it's Monday. I'm gonna have basically the whole list, unless anybody who I talked to over the weekend. So that means I talked to 2 people over the weekend who are in the super hot category, and then I have everybody else, 25 of them. And so what's cool is, while I have 27 people, the system is telling me out of the 27 people you have, 25 are the ones you need to do. Now, this is why my Mondays are always typically pretty hectic, because I want to reach out to these people and stay on top of them and just, hey, this is Len. Hope you had a great weekend. Whatever it ends up being. And I can click on this and it's going to show me just, as you see, just the 25 people. My hot list, 11 of them are good. 24 need to be reached out to. And the honest piece of this too is, as I go through this, I may reach out to one of these people and go, they're not super hot anymore. So I'm just going to move them from one category to the next and all the way down the line. And you can see that, I've got a bunch of people who, this is the perfect example. Half of my colds more than half of my colds have been reached out to in the last 21 days, but 15 haven't. So I just need to stay on top of that. And what ends up happening as you're working through these, I do a massive amount of lead generation. And so my lists are always pretty big. If you're looking at it and going, well, I'm creating over 100 leads a month just for myself. So this is pretty typical of what I'm doing. I do my best to just push through these as quick as I can. I'm very good at identifying, where they're at. Yes, no, getting off the phone, getting onto the next one. But this allows me to know who to reach out to, because that's the biggest problem. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of people, they'll take this cold category and they put it here in the pipeline. And it's like, okay, so if you had a pipeline of hot, so, here I've got my outbound prospect active, but if I had a hot category here and I clicked on it and I had, 35 people in there, and I log in, I go, which of these 35 people do I need to reach out to today? There's no way to really tell unless you have them on tasks. So that's the beauty and the magic of the segment. Now let's take it one step further and go to the call list. In my call list, I've got 19 people I need to call that I haven't called in 3 days. I've got 61 people that I need to call here, and 1 that I have called in the last 7 days, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, like in my 30 days plus, there's 8 people who I've reached out to in this list that I've reached out to in the last 30 days, but 1 that I haven't. And then, here I don't have anybody in here right now. So it tells me, like, my biggest missed opportunity right now is people who I haven't reached out to in the last 2 weeks that I should. Now, the good news is I built a campaign that's going to push them through this list. And so it's not going to, my lists are because full disclosure, when I created these lists, it dumped 200 and some people in there all at once in the first category, and I'm still getting caught up from doing this. And welcome to the life of a realtor, right? We're always playing catch up. It seems like we're never ahead as far as our tasks and the people we're needing to talk to, and yet we succeed despite ourselves. So my goal is, if I can just take a week, just not have any appointments, pound out my stuff, I can get caught up on everything. but you also have to pace yourself, because what ends up happening is if you don't pace the week, if you don't pace the month, then you wake up 30 days from now and you're like, oh, now I have another 209 people that I have to hit all at once. So as you pace through, you're good to go. And then the last piece I'll show you is your sphere of influence. And so if you're reaching out to your sphere of influence every 90 days, put them in a sphere of influence segment. And as you work your way through that list, when I call these 6 people, it will be another 90 days before it'll remind me to reach out to those people. And as you do that, that list goes from 103 and shrinks down. So if you're like, look, I'm just going to tackle 4 or 5 of these a day, then that red list just slowly drops. And by the time the people who are currently in green switch back over, then you're good to go. And you're only having to hit a couple people a day. So it takes the whole database management piece and reorganizes it. And it's going to be a little bit messy for the first 90 days. I'm just going to be honest. And that's why you're seeing the mess that I have, because we just kind of implemented this over the last 90 days. But since we implemented it, we've seen our contact ratios go up. We've seen our communication with our clients go up. We're showing more houses. We're putting more contracts. So it's been a night and day difference by just implementing this strategy. And I hope that, this helps you do the same. All right, cool. Reach out if you have any questions. Like, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell for more information. This is a beautiful thing. Like I said, reach out if you need any help setting this stuff up. I have different packages that I can put together as far as setting this up for you. I don't make it crazy expensive, and we can kind of dive in and kind of, hey, who goes who where, and just learning how to just add it as you go, and you'll be good to go. All right, have a good day. Have a great week.